In the quiet heart of an ancient forest, where the moonlight drifts like silver breath upon the water, there lies a small, hidden creek. They call it Hollow Creek, a place where dreams and whispers meet. And when the world has fallen into its deepest sleep, a gentle figure walks beside that glowing stream. She is known as the Dream Witch, not a witch of spells or storms, but of silence and light. Every night, she gathers the bottles that drift down the creek from faraway sleepers, tiny glass vessels filled with the shimmer of forgotten dreams and the trembling colors of people's fears. With tender hands, she opens each one and sings softly to the darkness inside until fear turns to gold and sorrow takes the shape of a butterfly. The forest listens, the water glows, and one by one, the dream butterflies rise into the night, carrying peace to those who sleep beyond the trees. Tonight, she is waiting again, by the water, under the moon, to begin her gentle work. So, close your eyes, breathe softly, and follow the golden light to the Dream Witch of Hollow Creek. The moon is high and kind. It hangs like a silver bowl above the trees. The night is soft, the forest is quiet. The creek glides in a hush of light. Stones wear halos, reeds lean and listen. The water keeps a steady, peaceful song. Along the bank, the willow branches trail their leaves. They write slow green lines on the water. Moths drift like petals. Fireflies pulse with patient hearts. The air smells of mint and damp earth. A gentle wind moves in small curls. It touches moss. It brushes ferns. It carries a cool, sweet calm. She comes without hurry, barefoot on the path of roots and dew. Her hair is dark and long. A braid rests over her shoulder like a river of night. In her right hand, a lantern. In her left, a simple net made of moon thread. The lantern glows gold and quiet. Its light falls on stones, on bark, on water. The Dream Witch of Hollow Creek arrives. She is gentle. She is kind. She is patient as the moon. She pauses by the wide bend where the creek slows. Here the current swirls in a glassy pool. Here the night is still, and every ripple is a line of silver. She breathes in. She lets the breath go. She listens. The forest answers with small sounds. An owl sighs from a cedar limb. A fox steps across fallen leaves. Somewhere far, a night bird sings one soft note and then sleeps again. The witch kneels at the edge. Her skirt gathers dew. Her fingers rest on a stone-polished glass smoothed by years of gentle water. The lantern's gold makes a little harbor of light around her. In that harbor, the soft world becomes softer. She hums. The melody is simple. It rises and falls like the creek. It has no hurry and no end. The first bottle appears, as if waking from the water's dream. It glides around the bend, turns once, and floats toward her light. The glass is clear. The cork is small and pale. Within, a faint cloud swirls, gray-blue and thin as breath on a winter pane. She lifts the net. The bottle slips inside with a tiny clink. She smiles, and the lantern answers with a warmer glow. "Quiet now," she whispers. "Rest now." Her voice is a soft leaf fall. She sets the bottle beside her on the moss. The gray-blue swirl settles. It is not fear, not anymore. It is a memory waiting to be soothed. The creek seems to nod. A ring of ripples widens and fades. Another bottle circles from the shadows beneath an alder root. This one glows a dim violet, like twilight behind a curtain. Drift, drift, drift. The witch gathers it and lays it beside the first. A tiny third arrives, shy as a fawn, with only a pearl-gray breath inside. One by one they come. Not many, not heavy, just enough for a gentle night's work. The witch hums a little lullaby with no words, and the bottles seem to breathe. She looks up through the willow leaves. The stars are tender and clear. Constellations hang like silver seeds. The sky is a bowl of quiet. The creek mirrors it, a long ribbon of soft light. "Thank you," she says to the night, as if the night had placed these gifts in her hands. The night answers with the lightest wind through the reeds. She does not open the bottles yet. That is for later. For now, she greets them like guests who have traveled far. Her fingers rest against the glass. Warmth meets warmth. The swirls inside loosen, soften, slow. She sees small stories drifting in the quiet colors. A child lost a word, then found it again. A dream held a long hallway, and at the end, a candle waited. A traveler missed a home that would welcome him when dawn came. Nothing sharp, nothing hard, just shadows asking for light. Across the pool, a lily opens one last white petal to the moon. On the bank, a fern unfurls the small curl it forgot to finish by day. The forest makes time for gentle tasks. The witch rises, carrying the lantern, and walks a few steps along the water. The path is sprinkled with silver dew. Her feet touch it like soft bells. Every step is a quiet note. The creek keeps the rhythm. At a shallow place, the water whispers over pebbles. She stops and lets the lantern hang low. Tiny fish hover in the gold. They flick once and become brief stars. From beneath a drift of leaves, another bottle finds the light. This one holds a soft, dusk-brown haze with gold dust at the edge. "Peace," she murmurs. "You are almost peace already." The haze settles, the gold gleams, and the bottle joins the others. She sits again, folding herself small beside the willow. She arranges the bottles in a circle on a flat fan of moss. The lantern goes at the center, a calm sun in a little sky of glass. The creek hums. The wind hushes. The forest leans in with friendly ears. She places her hands above the circle, not touching, only blessing. Her palms feel the gentle weight of the night. The night feels her gentle wish. "Soft and peaceful," she says, and the words fall like petals, quiet and silver. The words are pebbles dropped into still water, rings of calm spread out. They touch the reeds. They touch the owl. They touch the small, secret heart of the sleeping village downstream. Somewhere a window cools. Somewhere a hand unclenches on a pillow. Somewhere a breath loosens into dream. Her humming grows deeper, slower, like the creek when it widens. The lantern brightens and softens in the same breath. The bottles glow a little from within, as if remembering morning. She does not hurry them. Night is long and kind. She is patient. The willow keeps her company with a rustle like rain that never wets you. The stars keep her company with a glitter that never stings your eyes. She thinks of the first time she came to this bend. The moon was new then. The creek was timid, but even then, it sang the same song. Water loves to move toward peace. Water loves to carry away what is heavy. She learned to listen. She learned to be as water is moving, gentle, patient, clear. Now the creek and she are friends. They share the work. They share the quiet. A stray petal lands on the lantern's glass. It warms and glows like a tiny ember of a flower's dream. A frog speaks once and then remembers sleep. The witch's braid loosens a little in the tender wind. She tucks it back with a small laugh, a small human sound in the great hush. The night accepts it and keeps being night. The bottles rest. Their colors mute, then brighten, then rest again. The circle breathes. The creek breathes with it. Even the earth seems to breathe up through the moss, up through the roots, up through her knees, and into her calm, steady heart. The witch closes her eyes and sees silver on the inside of her eyelids. She opens them and sees the same silver spread on the water, inside and outside match, quiet and quiet meet. Dream, she whispers, the word long and soft. Dream, dream, dream. It is not a command. It is an invitation. The bottles answer by settling into a deeper glow. The willow answers by stilling its leaves. The sky answers by letting one thin cloud pass over the moon like a silk scarf, then slip away. Downstream, the village sleeps. Roofs hold the moonlight in pale shingles. Gardens keep the last sweetness of chamomile and clover. Dogs curl into gentle knots. Cats stretch in the shape of commas. A clock says a soft 2. Another says nothing at all. The creek moves beneath them all, a silver ribbon tying house to house, bed to bed, dream to dream. The witch lifts the lantern and stands. The circle of bottles remains, warm as a small hearth. She dips her fingers in the creek. The water is cool. The cool is kind. She touches that kindness to her eyelids, to her temples, to the place behind each ear. A ritual of quiet, a soft crown of night. Thank you, she tells the water. Thank you, she tells the moon. Thank you, she tells the gentle, peaceful, dark. Then she sits again, ready to wait. Waiting is part of the work. Waiting is part of the dream. The current brings what needs bringing. The current carries what needs carrying away. More bottles will come before dawn. She will welcome them as she welcomes all that asks for soft light. For now, she listens. For now, she hums. For now, the creek beneath the moon keeps its silver promise. Quiet, quiet, quiet. Gentle, gentle, gentle. Peaceful as water. Peaceful as stars. Peaceful as a dream just beginning to glow. The night deepens, but it does not grow darker. The lantern's soft gold floats like a second moon over the creek, and the witch's reflection drifts below it, calm, silver, still. Around her, the bottles gathered in part 1 rest in their quiet circle, faintly glowing like sleeping stars upon moss. Each hums a little, an almost sound, like a breath just before it becomes a sigh. The witch watches them gently. She does not rush. She never rushes. The forest does not know hurry, and she belongs to the forest. The willow behind her sways, brushing its leaves against her shoulders, as if listening to the unspoken words in her heart. She picks up the first bottle. The glass is cool, faintly damp with night mist. Inside, a small spiral of gray moves slowly, like smoke underwater, a child's nightmare. She can sense it, the echo of a small heartbeat inside the dream, quick and lonely, a fear of falling, of losing, of being unseen. "Shh," she murmurs. "You are safe now." Her thumb draws a small circle over the cork. The gray swirl quivers, then softens at its edges. It releases a pale shimmer that fades into her hand, like snow melting in sunlight. She hums again 3 notes, long and low. The nightmare listens, the creek listens, the night itself listens. "Dreams are small rivers," she whispers, "and rivers find their sea." She sets the bottle down and takes the next. This one flickers with deep violet and shadowed blue. It pulses faintly, like the light of a distant storm, a traveler's dream perhaps. She can feel the rhythm's slow footsteps, heavy air, a whisper of thunder. The witch closes her eyes. In her mind, she sees a lonely road stretching through fog. Someone walks there, carrying a candle that will not stay lit. Each gust of wind steals the flame. The traveler sighs, presses on, and sighs again. A restless spirit wandering between waking and sleep. The witch hums softly, weaving calm through the air. The violet light fades to lilac, the blue to silver gray. "No more wandering," she says. "You have reached the end of the path." The bottle settles, its glow now gentle and steady. One by one, she lifts the others. Each bottle holds a different dream, a different note in the night symphony. A black mist like spilled ink, someone's forgotten sorrow. A flicker of red anger softened by regret. A swirl of pearl white worry that never had a name. She does not fear them. To her, every nightmare is only an unfinished dream, a story paused before the dawn. She gives them what they need most: patience, silence, warmth. A soft mist rises from the creek, curling around her ankles. The lantern light turns it to gold. The bottles catch that gold and reflect it, one to another, until her little clearing glows like a secret sunrise trapped in the forest. The witch smiles, watching the ripples of light move across the water. "You see," she says quietly to the bottles, "you already know how to shine." From somewhere deep within the forest, a night bird calls a low, drawn-out note that trembles at the end. The witch answers it with a hum. The sound travels through the mist, along the reeds, and into the gentle sway of branches. The forest hums back, as if remembering. She places the bottles in the shallow water now, letting the current touch them. The creek's cool fingers soothe their glass sides. Small sparks drift from inside, each one gold, pale pink, and tender blue. The witch's lantern reflects in every surface, one light, multiplied into many. "Sleep softly," she whispers, tracing her fingers through the ripples. "Sleep softly, little fears. You are learning to be dreams again." A single bottle floats a little apart from the rest. It is smaller than the others, thin-necked and uneven, as though shaped by trembling hands. Its glow is faint, almost gone. The witch lifts it carefully. Inside, the light flickers once, twice, then dims completely. "Oh," she breathes, "you are tired." She holds it close to her chest, near her heartbeat. "You have traveled too far." She hums again, longer this time, the tune curving through the air like smoke rising toward stars. A hush falls over the forest. Even the creek seems to pause its song. The faint glow in the bottle stirs again. It grows, softly, until it glimmers like a candle behind fogged glass. "That's it," the witch murmurs, smiling. "Find your glow again." She sets the bottle gently back into the circle. The light steadies. Around her, the others seem to pulse in rhythm, as though the forest itself breathes with her. Time passes quietly. Minutes dissolve like dew. The witch feels the night deepening into its most peaceful hour, the in-between time when the world is neither asleep nor awake. She looks downstream. Far away, the creek curves toward the sleeping village. Lanterns there are dim, but she can see one or two faint glows from windows. Somewhere, a mother dreams of her child. Somewhere, an old man dreams of rain on his fields. Somewhere, a dog twitches its tail, chasing something gentle through sleep. And the witch knows some of those dreams began here. They drifted down this creek, found her hands, and learned how to glow again. She bends and touches the water. The current is cool, patient, endless. "You carry so much," she says, "and you never tire." The creek answers in ripples. A new bottle nudges against her wrist. It is clear and colorless, empty. The witch blinks. Empty bottles rarely come. She lifts it, tilts it in the lantern light. No mist, no swirl, no whisper, only silence. "Ah," she says softly, "someone is sleeping without dreams tonight." She smiles, not sadly, but tenderly. "That's all right. The heart will dream again." She places the empty bottle beside the glowing ones. "You may rest here until morning." The forest hums low, like a mother's song through a half-open door. The witch gathers her bottles into her satchel, each cushioned by moss and fern. She moves slowly, careful not to wake them. When the last one is tucked away, she rises. The lantern swings gently in her hand. Gold light dances over her face. Her eyes reflect both moon and water. The creek murmurs as she steps along its edge, following its winding path toward her hidden hut. The moss glows faintly under her feet. Behind her, the willow bows low in farewell. She pauses once more to look back. The pool gleams silver, scattered with small lights, places where her bottles had rested. The forest is still. The stars blink softly, like sleepy eyes closing. The witch whispers to the night, "Every dream is safe now." Then she turns toward the deeper woods, where the fireflies guide her like tiny lanterns of their own. Ahead, through the mist, a faint shimmer marks the path to her home, the place where nightmares become butterflies, and all things dark learn how to shine again. Quietly, she walks on. The forest parts for her. The creek follows with its song, and the night, peaceful and vast, hums its lullaby until only the sound of water remains. The forest was wide and breathing. Every branch, every fern, every quiet leaf seemed to listen to something soft moving through its heart. The dream witch walked along the narrow path beside the creek, and the forest opened for her like an old friend. The air was deep green and silver. It smelled of pine, moss, and a faint sweetness that came from moonlit blossoms hidden among the ferns. The creek whispered as it flowed, brushing its voice against stones and roots. It spoke to her, not with words, but with ripples that shimmered in her lantern's light. Sometimes it sounded like laughter, sometimes like the slow sigh of sleep. She listened, smiling. Above her, the trees stood in a slow rhythm, their leaves swaying to the hush of night wind. Owls turned their golden eyes toward her light and blinked without fear. A pair of foxes paused mid-step, tails touching, eyes bright with curiosity. Even the shy rabbits stayed near the shadows of the path, watching as she passed. The witch raised her lantern, letting the glow drift outward. The gold light found the trunks of the birches and the silver of the willows. The forest responded with its own small lights, fireflies rising from the grass, glimmering like floating stars caught between heaven and earth. "Good evening," she said to them, her voice barely more than breath. "The night is gentle tonight." The fireflies swayed around her hair, forming a tiny crown of gold. The witch laughed softly, the sound melting into the air like warm honey. The path curved inward, leading toward a hollow where the forest was older, quieter, wiser. The witch could feel it in her bones, the age of the place, the slow patience of its roots. She knew this was where the forest dreamed. As she walked, the creek widened, becoming a small mirror lake where stars slept upon the surface. The witch stopped at the edge and let the tip of her finger touch the water. Rings spread outward, silver circles fading into infinity. Every ring, she knew, was a voice. The forest did not speak in human words, but it spoke. It murmured stories of roots stretching deep into the earth, of seeds carried by wind, of rain that fell softly upon leaves that once caught sunlight. The witch closed her eyes. The sound of the water mingled with the slow breath of the forest, and in that stillness, she heard what few could ever hear, the world's quiet heart beating. It was not loud, not grand. It was steady, gentle, like a heartbeat lulled by its own rhythm. "Thank you," she whispered, bowing her head slightly, "for keeping me company all these nights." The creek shimmered in reply. Then she felt it the hush that meant something had joined her, unseen but near, a presence light as dew, soft as mist. She turned slowly. From the thick brush stepped a stag. Its coat shone white-gray under moonlight, and its antlers held drops of water like tiny gems. It stood still, calm and unafraid. The witch smiled. "Old friend," she said, "you've come again." The stag lowered its head, as though in greeting. It took a step closer and exhaled a faint cloud of mist. The witch extended her hand, and the stag touched its nose against her palm. Warm breath met warm skin. The forest, watching, held its breath. She could feel what the creature carried, a dream from somewhere deep in the forest's heart. Not a nightmare this time, but a dream unfinished. She could see it in the stag's eyes. Fields of mist, a sleeping fawn, a gentle rain that had yet to fall. "I'll keep it safe," she said softly. The stag blinked once, as if understanding. Then, with one graceful turn, it moved back into the trees, its form fading like smoke. The witch stood in silence for a moment. The night was deeper now, the stars brighter. She looked up, tracing their patterns through the gaps between branches. There Orion, walking endlessly. There Lyra, singing in silver. There the small, kind lantern of Venus. The witch hummed again, a soft tune that rose and fell with the rhythm of her steps. The forest answered her hum. The leaves rustled in time. The creek shimmered more brightly, as if echoing her voice. Her path led her past the old cedar grove. Their trunks were wide, gnarled, scarred by centuries, but their tops reached high, whispering secrets only stars could understand. The witch placed her hand against one. The bark was rough but pulsing faintly with life. "You remember," she said, "when the nightmares used to fall like rain. The cedar's branches moved, though no wind passed through." "Yes," she whispered, "I remember too." Long ago, before her nights became peaceful, the forest had trembled with fear. Storms had filled the creek with dark dreams, dreams too heavy to float, too fierce to soothe. They had spilled into the soil, haunting even the roots. The animals had hidden, and sleep had been uneasy for all living things. That was when she had come, when she had promised to help. Since then, the forest had slowly learned peace again. The nightmares that came now were small, almost shy. The creek carried them gently to her, and she tended them one by one, like seedlings in need of care. She smiled at the cedar. "The forest has healed," she said. "It remembers how to dream." Her words drifted upward through the branches, carried on the soft sigh of wind. As she continued her walk, she noticed tiny shapes darting above the creek bats, tracing invisible spirals in the air. They were not afraid of her light. She had watched their families grow over the years, their wings like thin silk in the moonlight. "Good night, little flyers," she said. "The sky belongs to you tonight." The bats fluttered higher, forming patterns that shimmered like music. The witch's steps slowed. The night felt perfect, balanced, whole. The forest had no edges. It seemed to go on forever, whispering its gentle chorus. She came to a small clearing where the trees opened, revealing a view of the distant hills. The moon hung above them, enormous and luminous, casting rivers of silver over the land. Her lantern seemed tiny compared to it, yet it glowed warmly, like a heart that refuses to be overshadowed by the vastness of the world. She sat upon a smooth rock and watched the creek curve away toward the horizon. Mist curled over its surface like white silk. The water caught every shimmer of moonlight and turned it into motion, soft, endless, and full of calm. The witch placed her hands in her lap. "All living things are dreaming now," she murmured. "Even the stones are resting." And indeed, it felt so. The world around her was a single, slow breath. For a long time, she stayed like that, listening, breathing, being. The forest's whispers flowed through her thoughts, brushing them clean, leaving only stillness. She could feel her heartbeat matching the pulse of the creek. When she finally rose, the first hint of dawn's pale gray touched the sky. The stars began to dim, folding themselves back into the deep blue. The witch lifted her lantern, its flame steady and unhurried. The forest sighed, content. The owls returned to their nests. The foxes vanished into the ferns. The bats folded their wings and slept upside down beneath the branches. Everything retreated gently into rest. The witch smiled. "Sleep well, my friends," she whispered, "until I return tomorrow night." She turned toward the path leading to her hut, the place where she would begin the work of transforming the night's bottles. The forest watched her go, rustling a soft farewell. Behind her, the creek shimmered once more, then quieted, its surface perfectly still. The whispering forest fell silent, holding the peace she had left behind, until only the sound of the witch's soft footsteps and the sighing of the wind remained. And above it all, the moon drifted westward, slow, silver, eternal, watching over Hollow Creek and the gentle keeper of dreams who walked beneath its glow. The dawn had not yet come, The horizon was still a soft veil of blue-gray, and the stars lingered like tiny candles that refused to fade. The dream witch walked slowly along the creek, her lantern casting a final golden shimmer upon the water. Around her, the forest began to hush in preparation for sleep, as though it, too, obeyed the rhythm of dreams. The creek, gentle and patient, murmured beside her feet. It had sung through countless nights, carrying the weight of countless stories. Its voice was not always this peaceful. Long ago, before the witch had come, its song had been heavy, dark, tangled, full of sorrow. She could still remember. It had been a wild river then, choked with restless dreams. They had come tumbling through the forest, bursting from the roots, from the stones, from the hearts of sleepless villagers who did not yet know peace. The nightmares had poured into the current like black storms. The witch stopped at the edge of an old willow, its roots dipping deep into the water. She rested her hand upon its bark. "You remember too, don't you?" she whispered. The tree creaked softly in the wind, its long silver leaves brushing her shoulder. A drop of dew rolled down and landed on her wrist, a quiet answer. "Yes," she said, her voice low and calm. "I remember the night the river cried." She closed her eyes, and the memory drifted up like mist from the past. There had been thunder that night. The sky had cracked open with lightning, and the rain had fallen like grief. The creek had swollen, wild and gray, dragging fallen branches and shattered dreams through the forest. Everywhere, the witch had heard them whispers of fear, fragments of voices, faces flickering in the rain. The nightmares had escaped from the sleeping minds of the villagers, too heavy to stay hidden. They had rushed toward the water as though seeking refuge. She had stood here, her cloak soaked, her lantern nearly drowned, and she had promised the river, "I will help you. I will carry what you cannot carry alone." And so she had begun her work, the slow, nightly art of gathering what was dark and giving it a new name. The witch opened her eyes. The forest around her was peaceful now, as if the memory had been washed clean. The creek moved quietly under the pale moonlight, every ripple soft as silk. She smiled faintly. "You have learned to sing again," she said. "You've remembered how to be gentle." The water shimmered in reply. She continued walking, her bare feet brushing through soft moss. Every few steps, she dipped a hand into the current, feeling its cool touch glide between her fingers. The sensation was familiar, grounding, sacred. Once, she had thought the river would never heal. There had been years of work, years of sleepless nights, and soft songs whispered into the wind. But healing, she learned, never comes through force. It comes through rhythm, through patience, through love, repeated quietly. Now, the nightmares that reached her creek were small. They arrived timidly, like frightened children. They floated, they waited, they trusted. Ahead, the forest opened into a meadow. The grass there was silver green under the moon, swaying gently with the movement of air. At its center lay a shallow bend where the creek widened, forming a still pool before continuing downstream. This was where the witch had first met the spirit of the river long ago, when it had no face, no voice, only sorrow. She approached the edge of the pool and lowered her lantern. The reflection of the moon rippled across the surface. For a moment, the world seemed upside down, the stars below, the earth above, and she's standing between two skies. "Are you awake, old friend?" she asked softly. A faint shimmer stirred beneath the water, like the tail of a fish made of light. The glow spread, delicate and wavering, until it took shape a pale, translucent figure of flowing water and starlight. The river spirit rose halfway from the pool, its surface forming the outline of a face calm, fluid, unbound. The witch bowed her head. "It has been many years since you last spoke." The spirit's voice was like the hum of water through stone. "Peace does not require words." She smiled. "No, but still, I've missed your voice." Ripples of silver spread outward from the spirit's form. "The forest sleeps well again," it said. "The dreams are light, the hearts are calm. You have done what few could do." The witch's lantern flickered gently. "I only listened," she said. "You carried the rest." The spirit inclined its shimmering head. "Do you still remember the day you bound the nightmares?" The witch's eyes grew distant. "Yes," she said. "I remember the first bottle. It had been carved from river glass, a piece of broken mirror washed up on the bank. She had cleaned it, sealed it, and whispered to the darkness trapped inside. The nightmare had tried to escape, coiling like smoke. But when she sang to it softly, steadily, it had quieted, turning to faint gold within the glass. That was how the first dream butterfly had been born. She had released it into the dawn, and it had fluttered across the sky like a spark of peace. Wherever it flew, sleepers had stirred with smiles, though they did not know why. "Yes," she said now, her eyes shining with the reflection of the water. "That was the beginning." The spirit's glow trembled like laughter. "Even water can learn from light," it murmured, "and darkness too, when treated gently." The witch knelt at the edge of the pool, setting her lantern upon a flat stone. "Do you still keep the memories?" she asked. "All rivers do," the spirit said. "Every ripple remembers. Every droplet tells the story of where it has been. Even now, beneath this calm surface, the echoes of your songs drift in the current." The witch listened, and for a moment she could hear them, the faint, lingering hums of old lullabies carried along the creek, still singing softly to the stones and roots. "It feels strange," she said, her voice quiet, "to know that peace can grow from pain." "Strange," said the spirit, "but true. A nightmare is only a frightened dream. You taught them to rest. You taught me to rest." The witch reached forward, letting her fingers touch the spirit's surface. It felt like touching moonlight, cool, shimmering, alive. "Thank you," she whispered. The spirit bowed low. "It is I who thank you. You gave the night its calm again." A breeze moved through the meadow, stirring the reeds. The spirit's form began to dissolve, fading back into the pool. "The night grows thin," it said. "Dawn is near." The witch nodded. "Then I must return. The bottles are waiting." The last of the spirit's light rippled away, leaving the water smooth and bright. The witch stood, lifting her lantern once more. The wind carried the scent of wet grass and the faint sweetness of morning flowers. She looked at the creek flowing onward, gentle and endless. It no longer cried, it dreamed. The forest, too, seemed to hum a low song of peace. The witch whispered to the river as she began walking, "Rest easy, old friend. I will keep watching." Behind her, the moon slid lower, touching the surface of the water one last time before fading into dawn. The creek shimmered, carrying the memory of her footsteps and the memory of every song she had ever sung downstream toward the sleeping village, where dreams waited to awaken in light. The witch smiled as she walked home, her heart as calm as the river she loved. The night was ending, but the dream would continue, always. The dream witch's hut stood hidden in a hollow of ferns and moss, where the creek curved softly around a bed of smooth stones. From afar, it looked like part of the forest itself, a humble dwelling, woven of willow branches, roofed with river reeds, and crowned with a small garden of luminous herbs that glowed faintly under moonlight. A curtain of hanging vines guarded the entrance, rustling gently whenever the night breeze passed through. When the witch arrived, the first fingers of dawn had not yet touched the trees. The forest still belonged to moonlight, and the air was cool with the scent of wet leaves. She placed her lantern by the door and entered. The inside was quiet, lined with shelves made of driftwood and stone. Bottles rested there, hundreds of them, some filled with faint silver mist, others with soft glows of gold, pink, and violet. They were her work, her history, her harmony. In the center of the hut stood a wide, round table carved from an ancient stump. Upon it, a circle of smooth river stones formed a gentle boundary. Each stone had been chosen for its sound. When tapped, they made notes that together became her lullaby. Around them were little bowls filled with powders, crushed petals, moon salt, pollen, and dust of quartz. The witch unwrapped her satchel and placed the new bottles carefully upon the table. The glass shone faintly, each color like the first blush of dawn. They were still restless, still half asleep, their tiny storms moving slowly inside. "Welcome home," she whispered. "You've traveled far tonight." The bottles pulsed gently in reply. She lit a small lamp of clear oil. Its flame burned pale and steady, throwing golden patterns across the hut's wooden walls. Shadows danced softly between the shelves. The creek's murmur outside blended with the rustle of ferns and the faraway hoot of an owl finding its rest. The witch rolled back her sleeves. Her arms were lined with faint marks of starlight, the gift of her bond with dreams. She took a deep breath, steady and calm. Then she began the night's work. First came the cleansing. She filled a shallow basin with water from the creek, stirred it clockwise 3 times, and dropped in a few grains of moon salt. The surface shimmered like liquid pearl. One by one, she submerged the bottles into the basin. As they touched the water, tiny ripples spread, carrying whispers that only she could hear. The witch listened to each one in silence. Some murmured of sorrow, small regrets lost in time. Others trembled with forgotten fears, a child's cry, a traveler's shadow, an echo from a lonely heart. She didn't try to erase them. Instead, she whispered back words of comfort. "Rest," she said. "You were never meant to carry so much weight." The bottles quieted. The colors within them softened, swirling slower, like clouds drifting after rain. When she lifted them from the basin, their glass seemed lighter, clearer, as though the nightmares had exhaled. She arranged them in a circle around the lamp. The flame flickered, and the air filled with a faint golden mist. Next came the warming. She placed her palms over the bottles. Her hands did not glow, but the warmth that came from them was deeper than fire. It was the warmth of stillness, of patience, of care given without asking. The witch closed her eyes. She breathed in the rhythm of the creek, the heartbeats of the forest, the hum of sleeping stars. With each breath, her palms grew warmer. The bottles began to shimmer. Inside them, the gray and violet shades dissolved into gold dust. It was slow, delicate work, an alchemy of gentleness, the kind that required no flame, no cauldron, no thunderous chant, only quiet, only love. Outside, the forest seemed to listen. The wind stilled. The ferns leaned closer. Even the creek slowed its song, holding its voice in reverence. The witch opened her eyes. The bottles were no longer restless. Each one held a tiny sun swirling in soft light. The nightmares had become dreams again, light enough to float, bright enough to guide. She smiled. "There you are," she said. "You've remembered who you are." The third step was harmony. From the shelves, she took her small chime bowl made from the rim of a fallen star. When she struck it with a silver branch, it sang a note so pure it could calm even the wind. The witch began to hum with it, her voice slow and rhythmic. The sound filled the hut like mist fills a valley. The bottles vibrated faintly, their light pulsing in time with the melody. The gold dust inside them began to move. At first, it drifted lazily, like pollen caught in sunlight. Then it gathered, forming delicate lines, veins, wings, a soft outline. One by one, the golden shapes took form. Butterflies, tiny at first, their wings folded tight, glowing like small embers in glass. As her song deepened, the wings opened. They shimmered in colors that did not exist under the sun, dream colors, woven from the light between thoughts. The witch continued to hum, guiding their rhythm, helping them remember the pattern of flight. Her hut was filled with glow now. The butterfly's light moved along the walls, over the shelves, across her face. The shadows danced like dreams, waking gently from sleep. When her song reached its final note, she lifted her hands and opened the nearest bottle. A golden butterfly rose slowly, stretching its wings. It hovered in front of her eyes for a moment, then circled her lantern, leaving trails of soft light in the air. She laughed quietly. "Welcome to the world." She opened another bottle, and another. Each time, a butterfly emerged, glowing with its own hue, some pale as moonlight, others deep as sunrise. They filled the hut with their soft rustling, like the sound of tiny sighs. The witch moved carefully among them, opening bottles until the air shimmered with hundreds of small lights. The forest outside reflected their glow, branches gilded, moss turned to emerald, water painted with gold. She whispered, "Fly gently, my loves. Carry your peace with care." One by one, the butterflies drifted toward the open door. They slipped through the vines, out into the dawn. The witch followed them to the threshold. The sky was beginning to pale. The first colors of morning brushed the clouds, rose, amber, quiet gold. The butterflies spread across the forest, floating above the creek, between the trees, over sleeping flowers. Their light touched everything: the dark corners of the woods, the small nests hidden in hollows, the still water where frogs dreamed, and far away, beyond the forest edge, they would reach the village, entering open windows, settling above pillows, bringing calm where fear once lingered. The witch stood in the doorway, her heart full of stillness. She whispered to the wind, "Carry them safely. Let no dream wander alone." The last of the butterflies fluttered past her cheek, brushing her hair with light. Then it was gone, following its kin into the growing dawn. Inside the hut, the bottles were empty now. Only the faint scent of moon salt and wildflowers remained. The witch extinguished her lantern. The flames sighed out softly, leaving the room bathed in the faint gold of sunrise. She placed her hand on the table, feeling the warmth the butterflies had left behind. The alchemy was complete. The nightmares had become light. The night had become peace. She smiled to herself and whispered, "Another night well tended." Then, as the forest woke to morning bird song, she wrapped her cloak around her shoulders and sat beside the door, eyes closing slowly. Her breath fell into the rhythm of the creek outside. The witch of Hollow Creek, keeper of bottled dreams, drifted into her own sleep, quiet, silver, and deep. When the dream witch awoke, dawn had already wrapped the forest in a golden hush. The world outside her hut glowed with soft warmth mist drifting through sunbeams, dew shining on every leaf, the creek a ribbon of quiet silver. The witch stirred slowly, stretching her hands toward the morning light that filtered through the vines. The night's work had been gentle but deep. Her heart still carried the hum of the dreams she had tended. On the round table before her, the empty bottles waited, their glass kissed by faint traces of gold dust. Though they seemed still, a shimmer lingered inside each one, a pulse of quiet promise. It was the moment she loved most, the moment when the night's silence transformed into dawn's miracle. She rose, taking a deep breath of the crisp air that smelled of moss and light rain. The witch opened the door wide, letting the creek's voice enter her hut. "It's time," she whispered. The forest seemed to listen. A slow breeze moved through the ferns, bending the slender stems of her garden herbs. The chime of water against stone filled the space where words did not belong. The witch placed both palms over the nearest bottle, closed her eyes, and began to hum. Her voice was low, steady, and pure. It rose and fell like breath, like the soft lapping of water on the shore. The sound wound through the hut, touching each bottle, waking each tiny ember of gold inside. Then it began. The first glow came from the center of the circle, the bottle she had gathered last from the creek. A thin line of light traced itself along the glass, glowing brighter until it cracked with a faint, melodious chime. From that fragile break, a shimmer of gold lifted upward, soft as breath, weightless as dust. The light gathered in the air, swirling once, then slowly took shape. Wings unfurled, transparent at first, then radiant. A butterfly emerged. Its wings were delicate veils of light, each thread woven from the memory of dreams she had soothed. A child's smile, a song half remembered, a quiet field beneath summer rain. As it fluttered, the witch saw colors that could never exist in daylight tones, of peace, of forgiveness, of stillness. "Welcome, little one," she murmured. "The world is gentler with you in it." The butterfly hovered for a moment, then landed softly on her wrist. Its glow was warm, pulsing faintly with her heartbeat. It stayed there, still, as if listening to her pulse, learning the rhythm of life. More bottles began to stir. One by one, their surfaces shimmered and cracked, releasing tiny spirals of light. Each cloud gathered shape, some pale as dawn mist, others rich like molten amber. They opened wings, tested them in the air, and rose in slow spirals. The witch stood amidst them, her eyes reflecting gold and rose light. Around her, the hut filled with motion, fluttering wings, soft rustling like the sigh of silk, trails of glow weaving through the morning air. She lifted her hands. Breathe, my little ones. You were once fear. Now you are peace. You were once darkness. Now you are light. The butterflies responded with gentle circling. They brushed her hair, her shoulders, her palms. Every movement left a faint shimmer in the air, like golden pollen drifting on sunlight. The witch turned slowly, smiling, her braid glowing faintly in the light. The air inside her hut had become almost luminous, the gold drifting like dust in sunbeams. Outside, the forest was waiting. The ferns bowed under dew, the willows gleamed, and the creek reflected the morning sky. The witch opened her door fully. Go, she whispered. Go, and carry peace where it is needed. The butterflies paused, as if listening. Then, with a single collective motion, they lifted into the morning. They poured from the doorway like a quiet golden stream. Some flew upward, catching the soft currents of air and vanishing into the mist above the trees. Others drifted low, following the creek downstream, their reflections dancing in the water. A few lingered near her garden, perching upon petals of bluebell and chamomile. The witch watched, her heart filled with still joy. The golden light spread far beyond her hut, spilling over the meadow, the water, the branches. The forest came alive in that glow. Birds began to stir and sing notes, gentle, hesitant at first, then full. As the butterflies spread, the air seemed to warm. The old trees stretched in the light, and even the shadows beneath the ferns softened. Every place that had once known sorrow now shimmered with renewal. The witch stepped outside, bare feet touching cool moss. She followed the butterflies to the creek. A few of them hovered close to the water's surface, brushing it with their wings. Wherever they touched, ripples spread, leaving streaks of faint light behind. The witch knelt by the edge. Do you see? She asked the creek. They remember where they came from. The water rippled as if nodding. She dipped her fingers into the current. The cold kissed her skin, and she felt the pulse of countless dreams flowing past. Carry them gently, she whispered. Let every drop find a heart in need. The butterflies drifted onward. Some rose above the trees toward the sky, small golden flecks fading into morning clouds. Others followed the winding path of the water, making their way toward the sleeping village downstream. There the witch knew they would settle by windows and drift through small openings, bringing calm to children, still tossing in their dreams, to elders resting by the fire, to lovers sharing silence before dawn. Each butterfly was a quiet blessing, a healed dream returned to the world. The witch stayed by the creek long after the last of the butterflies had left. Her reflection shimmered in the slow-moving water, her face soft, her eyes bright with peace. The forest breathed around her. The air was filled with a kind of holy quiet. When she finally rose, the sun had reached the tree line. Its light poured across the meadow, turning the mist to threads of gold. She lifted her hands toward it, palms open. "May the world be gentle today," she said softly. "May all hearts remember the calm that lives beneath their storms." The wind brushed her cheek, carrying her words away. Behind her, her hut glowed faintly from within an afterglow of golden light that would fade slowly as day deepened. She looked back at it and smiled. Each morning, it looked a little emptier, a little more peaceful, until the night came again and filled it with dreams once more. She walked toward the meadow, her bare feet brushing the grass. The butterflies were far away now, invisible to human eyes but alive in the rhythm of the day. Some of their glow still lingered in the dew, in the reflection of the water, in the trembling air. The witch paused once more, feeling the warmth of sunlight touch her hair. "Every dream finds its morning," she whispered. Then she turned and began the slow walk back to her hut. The forest, still wrapped in peace, followed her with rustling leaves and soft light. The creek sang its endless song. Behind her, high above the trees, the last of the dream butterflies caught a shaft of sunlight and vanished into the sky, leaving only a single trail of gold that faded like breath proof that even the smallest light, born from darkness, can find its wings. By the time the sun reached its first full height above the forest, the Dream Witch's butterflies had already begun their long and gentle voyage. They drifted far beyond the mossy banks of Hollow Creek, their wings scattering trails of luminous dust that shimmered in daylight like faint halos. The witch stood at her doorway, eyes half closed, listening to the song the forest made as they flew. It was not a loud song, no trumpets, no chorus, only the smallest tremor of air, the whisper of thousands of tiny wings moving as one. The forest had grown used to their passage. It swayed softly to their rhythm. Even the creek's voice slowed, deepened, and carried their glow downstream like sunlight stretched upon the water. The witch raised her hand in quiet blessing. "Go gently," she murmured. "Carry the peace you were made from." Then she sat upon her step, hands folded loosely in her lap, and watched them vanish into the shimmer of morning. The butterflies traveled low at first, moving through the ferns and beneath the canopy, following the stream's silver path. They passed over stones still wet with dew, over pools where minnows flashed like liquid mirrors. When they brushed the surface, they left behind faint ripples of gold that lingered long after they had gone. The forest seemed to sigh in their wake. The willows dipped their branches lower, offering a soft farewell. Mushrooms glowed brighter under the shadows, catching flecks of light that fell like pollen. Tiny spiders spun webs that gleamed with threads of iridescence, as though trying to imitate the wings they saw above them. By mid-morning, the butterflies reached the heart of the woods, where the trees stood tallest and the air was thick with the breath of age. Here, the light filtered down in thin columns like golden rain. The butterflies gathered within those shafts, circling slowly, their wings catching each beam until the clearing glowed like a dream caught in glass. The witch, though far away, could feel them. She always could. Each butterfly carried a whisper of her breath, a note of her hum. When they flew, she sensed the rhythm in her chest. She knew they had reached the place of old trees because her heartbeat had slowed deep, steady, ancient. The butterflies stayed there for a while, resting upon bark and moss, exchanging their warmth with the forest. And when they rose again, they carried that warmth outward, past the shadows and into the light beyond the trees. Downstream, the creek began to widen. Its voice, once secret and narrow, grew calm and open. The water carried the butterflies gently now, bearing them upon its ripples like lanterns on a quiet river. The reflection of each wing created a second world beneath the surface, a mirror realm of gold, light, and memory. From above, it looked as though the water itself had learned to glow. Along the banks, the morning creatures stirred from their nests. Deer lifted their heads from drinking, their dark eyes reflecting flickers of gold. Birds paused mid-flight to watch the shimmer that passed through the air. Even the small, shy fox that kept its den near the roots of the birch stepped out to see. The forest had seen many mornings, but none so bright, none so soft. As the butterflies continued, they carried the warmth of the witch's work into every corner of the waking world. They brushed the tips of branches and left light upon the leaves. They drifted through spiderwebs and made them sparkle like constellations. They flew above meadows, and wherever they passed, the wildflowers turned their heads toward the sun as though drawn by unseen music. By noon, the butterflies reached the edge of the forest, where Hollow Creek began to split into small winding streams that led toward the valley. Beyond that valley lay the village, the place where dreams began their journey into the night. The witch's eyes softened as she looked toward that far horizon. Though she could not see the village from her hut, she knew what awaited there. She could picture every rooftop, every garden, every sleeping face that would soon feel the touch of her gentle light. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Let them remember peace. Let them breathe easier." The butterflies arrived silently. The first to reach the village fluttered through open windows and found their way into dimly lit rooms. In one cottage, an old man sat by the fire, his hands clasped, his mind heavy with dreams of years he could no longer return to. When a golden butterfly landed upon his shoulder, his breath eased. He closed his eyes and smiled faintly, and though he did not know why, the ache in his heart became smaller. In another house, a mother slept beside her newborn child. The baby had been restless for many nights, waking with small cries. A butterfly floated through the cracked window and settled upon the child's blanket. The infant stirred once, then sighed and fell into a deep, unbroken sleep. The mother, feeling the shift without waking, smiled in her dreams. In a quiet workshop, a craftsman who had fallen asleep over his bench awoke just enough to see a light moving near his tools. For a moment, he thought it was a spark from the dying candle. But when the butterfly landed on his hand, its glow reflected in his eyes, and a calm thought whispered through him, "There is still time to begin again." Throughout the village, windows glowed faintly with a soft gold unseen by waking eyes. The butterflies did not speak, but their presence was felt. The hush before peace, the moment when the heart remembers the shape of stillness. By afternoon, the butterflies had completed their journey. They gathered in the open square at the village's edge, where the creek ran beneath a small stone bridge. There, they rested once more, hovering just above the water, their wings reflecting sunlight like tiny mirrors. Children who passed by saw them and stopped in awe. They pointed, whispering to one another, calling them sun spirits and river fireflies. But the butterflies did not stay long. They lingered just enough to be remembered, to plant a seed of wonder, then began to fade into the brightness of the day. One by one, they dissolved into motes of light, rising into the air until nothing remained but the shimmer on the water. The children clapped their hands in delight, not realizing they had witnessed the remnants of dreams turned to blessing. Far away, in her hut, the witch felt the last flutter fade. She smiled and pressed her hand over her heart. "They've reached their homes," she whispered. "The night's work is complete." The forest around her breathed deeply, the way one breathes after prayer. Sunlight moved gently over her roof, and through the open doorway came the scent of wildflowers and morning dew. The witch walked outside, sat beside the creek, and dipped her feet into the cool current. The water, touched by golden dust, glimmered faintly against her skin. She closed her eyes. The world was quiet now, peaceful, fulfilled. She whispered, "Every light finds its way back to the dream it came from." The forest echoed softly, a sound like the rustle of wings far away. The witch smiled once more, knowing the butterflies would return by nightfall, changed again into new dreams, ready to be born once more when the moon rose. The journey of light had ended, but the circle of peace continued flowing like the creek itself, eternal, gentle, and unbroken. The sun had long drifted west when the witch returned to her hut. Golden light lay gently across the clearing, turning every blade of grass to amber. The butterflies had finished their journey, and peace rested like a soft blanket over Hollow Creek. The forest was calm again, calm in the way of something that had spoken all day and was now content to listen. The witch set down her lantern and placed her hand on the wooden doorframe. The hut still held traces of light from the morning's work, faint glimmers along the shelves, a few specks of dust that shimmered like memories. She smiled, feeling the rhythm of the place, then stepped inside to tidy the circle of stones and empty bottles. Night would come soon, and with it, the river's whisper would change again. The dreams would begin their return, slow, shimmering, silent. She was humming to herself, her melody low and sweet, when she felt it, a pause in the rhythm, a quiet so deep that even the creek outside seemed to draw breath and wait. The air shifted, not colder, not darker, but heavier, as though something had entered her world that did not belong to either night or day. The witch lifted her head. "You may come in," she said softly. At first, there was only the sound of the breeze brushing through the hanging vines. Then, between them, a faint shape appeared. It was not light, not shadow. It was something in between, like fog, trying to remember its form. A man's outline slowly took shape, though his body did not fully belong to the world. He was tall and still, his figure faintly transparent, like a reflection on rippled water. The witch could see through him to the forest behind, where the trees stood motionless. She did not step back. She had met many strange beings beside Hollow Creek spirits of water, dream fragments, echoes of ancient sorrow. But this presence was quieter than all of them, quiet in the way that silence is when it has gone on too long. The figure's eyes opened. They were pale, almost colorless, yet deep with something that made her heart ache. "You've come far," she said, her voice as gentle as dusk. The figure nodded once, slowly. His lips did not move, yet she heard his voice clearly, like a thought carried on wind. "I cannot dream." The witch tilted her head. cannot or will not." The spirit hesitated. His form flickered faintly. "I have forgotten how." He stepped closer to the threshold. The vines brushed through his body without resistance. Inside the hut, the air grew stiller. The bottles shimmered faintly, reacting to his presence not in fear, but in recognition. The witch studied him. His outline wavered at the edges, like smoke struggling to stay together. "You are a wanderer between worlds," she said softly. "You do not belong to the waking or the sleeping." The figure's gaze lifted toward the shelves. "I remember light," he said, "and sound, but not warmth, not rest." The witch's eyes softened. "Then you remember half of a dream." He turned to her, and though his face had no shadow, she could feel sorrow radiating from him, vast, endless, like the hush of an ocean with no shore. "I've watched your butterflies," he said. "Every night they pass by me. They bring light to others, but never to me." The witch stepped closer, her feet soundless on the floor. "Because you do not sleep," she said. "You stand on the edge, where light and dark do not meet." "I want to cross," he whispered. She looked at him long, her gaze neither pitying nor afraid. "Crossing takes trust. Trust takes heart. Do you still have yours?" The spirit looked down at his chest. His hand, pale, transparent, passed through where his heart should be. Nothing glowed there. No rhythm pulsed. Only emptiness. He met her eyes again. "I lost it long ago. I do not know where." The witch reached toward one of her shelves and took a small, empty bottle, smooth, clear, unmarked. She held it in both palms. "Then we will make you a new one." The spirit's form flickered. "You cannot create what life has forgotten." "I do not create," she said. "I remind." She carried the bottle to her table and placed it in the center of her circle of stones. The room glowed faintly, the stones remembering her song. "Sit," she told the spirit. He hesitated, then lowered himself to the ground. His form did not bend wood or move air, but still, it seemed as though the world made space for him. The witch placed her hands around the bottle. "Close your eyes," she said. "If you cannot dream, then listen. I will dream for you." She began to hum. The tune was not one of her usual lullabies. It was older, deeper, woven from the hum of the earth itself, the kind of song that reaches beyond sound and into stillness. The spirit trembled. His form shimmered, almost fading, then growing clear again. "I hear it," he whispered. "It's far away." The witch's voice softened further, flowing like the creek at dusk. "It's not far. It's beneath your silence." Her hands glowed faintly now. Within the bottle, a faint mist began to form, pale at first, then rich with color, shifting between blue and gold. The spirit watched, his expression unreadable, yet his eyes brightened with something that might have been longing. "This," she said, "is your first dream. It is made of memory and hope. What will it do?" "It will rest inside you," she said, "and when you listen again to the night, you will remember warmth." She opened the bottle. A thin line of light rose from it, not as radiant as her dream butterflies, but softer, gentler, like the echo of candlelight in water. It drifted toward the spirit, touching his chest. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, faint golden light began to spread through him, fragile, trembling, but alive. He gasped, and for the first time, a sound left his mouth. It was not a cry, but a breath, sharp, startled, almost human. "I feel it," he whispered. "I feel the world again." The witch smiled. "Then you are dreaming." The spirit looked down at his hands. They were still transparent, but now a pulse shimmered faintly through them, a rhythm like the tide's return. He stood, turning toward the door. The golden light within him flickered once, twice, as if uncertain. "Will I stay?" he asked quietly. "No," said the witch. "You will move on. All dreams do. But when you go, you will not vanish. You will flow." He nodded slowly. "And you?" "I will wait by the creek," she said, her eyes soft, "for the next heart that has forgotten how to dream." The spirit stepped toward the threshold. The vines parted like curtains of silk. Outside, twilight had returned, the first stars rising over the creek. The forest dipped in silver blue. He turned once more. "Your song, I will remember it." The witch bowed her head. "That is all I ask." And then he was gone, his form dissolving into the evening air, scattering into countless motes of light that drifted upward toward the stars. For a long moment, the witch stood in her doorway, watching the air where he had been. The forest was silent, the creek calm, but in that stillness, she heard a new note, faint, beautiful, somewhere between sigh and laughter. The witch smiled, knowing what it was, the sound of a lost soul's first dream. She turned back inside and whispered to her empty hut, "May your heart rest where rivers meet the stars." Outside, the water shimmered, carrying that light downstream, a golden ripple joining the song of Hollow Creek, where peace was born again, quietly, endlessly, in the soft breath between worlds. The night deepened once more, soft as a sigh. Outside the witch's hut, Hollow Creek glowed faintly in moonlight, its surface smooth as silver glass. The forest had returned to its quiet rhythm owls, watching from their posts, wind murmuring through branches, the air thick with the perfume of wet moss and starlight. Inside, the witch sat by her open door. Her lantern burned low, its flame smaller than a candle's whisper. She had not yet slept. The encounter with the silent spirit lingered in her thoughts, like an echo that refused to fade. She could still feel the place on her palm where she had held the bottle, still see the way the golden light had spread through him, uncertain, fragile, then strong. The hut smelled faintly of warm glass and dew. The empty bottle sat upon the table, reflecting the faint glow of the lantern. Its surface was cold now, but within it shimmered a small residue of light, a quiet remnant of what had been given. The witch reached for it and smiled. "You will not stay empty long," she murmured. "No bottle ever does." She set it back among the others, where it caught the last of the lantern's flame. For a while, she listened to the night, to the creek, to her own heart. There was peace, but also something else, the tremor before change. She rose and stepped outside. The air brushed her skin cool and sweet, as though the whole forest had just exhaled. Mist drifted low over the creek, swirling around her feet. The moon floated high above the trees, a quiet guardian watching over water, leaves, and dreams. She walked to the bank, barefoot. The stones were smooth and cold beneath her soles. The current whispered, gliding over them. She knelt and dipped her fingers in, The creek felt different tonight, not colder, not deeper, but full, as though carrying something new in its heart. Then she saw it. A single butterfly, glowing softly gold, drifted down the current. Its wings were slower than the others she had known, heavier, deliberate, like a heartbeat made visible. It floated toward her light, its reflection shimmering in the ripples. The witch smiled faintly. "Ah," she whispered, "so he has returned." She cupped her hands and caught it as it came near. The butterfly rested there, trembling faintly, its glow pulsating in rhythm with her breath. It carried warmth, the same golden hue she had given the lost spirit. She brought it close to her face. "You've found your rest, haven't you?" she murmured. The butterfly opened its wings wide, and for a moment she saw something reflected there. A glimpse of the spirit's calm face, eyes closed, lips curved faintly in peace. Then the image faded, replaced by light alone. The witch exhaled softly. "Then you are no longer lost." She lifted her hands and let the butterfly rise. It circled once around her head, leaving a trail of gold dust in the air, and then flew upward into the dark, toward the thinning stars, toward the pale horizon where dawn was waiting. She watched until it disappeared, until its glow became one with the coming light. The forest stirred. Birds began to murmur in their sleep, their voices faint but rising. The leaves trembled. A silver line appeared far to the east, the first breath of morning stretching across the sky. The witch sat by the creek and waited. She always waited for dawn. It was not habit, it was gratitude. She loved the way night did not end, but transformed the way darkness released its hold. Without struggle, the way light arrived not with sound, but with stillness. And as she watched, something gentle unfolded within her. A warmth, like the one she had given the spirit, bloomed behind her ribs. It spread outward to her shoulders, to her fingertips, to the quiet air. "Every dream," she whispered, "must wake into light." She reached for her lantern and extinguished its flame. The creek now provided its own brightness, reflecting the pale gold of early dawn. All around her, the mist began to lift. It moved slowly, curling like soft ribbons above the water, revealing the world in layers: moss, reeds, stones, the soft curve of earth where ferns grew thick. Then came the light. It did not rush. It came as a promise kept. A faint shimmer at first, then a golden flood that poured through branches and over the creek's face. It touched her skin with warmth. It slid through her hair, setting its dark strands aglow. The world breathed again, and the air turned from silver to honey. The witch stood and faced the rising Sunday. Her eyes half closed, she lifted her hands toward it. A slow, graceful motion born of reverence. "Bless the ones who dream," she said softly. "Bless the ones who wake. Bless the hearts that wander, and the ones that remember their way home." The wind carried her words along the water. The forest listened. Even the smallest things, stones, petals, insects, seemed to still for that moment, as though receiving the blessing in their own quiet language. The witch's voice grew softer still. "Let fear find its rest. Let sorrow turn to dew. Let love move like water, unbroken and clear. Let light rise from every shadow, gentle as dawn." When she finished, she let her hands fall slowly to her sides. The light now filled everything: her hut, the clearing, the air, the forest no longer whispered. It simply existed, bright and new. She turned toward the creek one last time. The water glittered, full of small golden motes that drifted slowly downstream. They looked like butterflies turned to dust, perhaps remnants of the ones that had flown the night before, or perhaps fragments of the spirit's final gift. "Go," she said to them, smiling. "Carry peace wherever the river flows." The motes shimmered in answer, scattering as the current pulled them away. The witch walked back to her hut. The vines over her doorway glowed faintly in the sunlight, dewdrops clinging to their leaves. She paused at the threshold, glancing once more at the forest behind her, every leaf alive with morning brightness. In that stillness, she felt no sadness, only the quiet rhythm of things continuing. The cycle would turn again, night into dawn, dreams into light, sorrow into calm. That was her work, her joy, her endless task. She entered the hut and sat once more by her table. Her fingers traced the rim of the empty bottle, the one that had held the spirit's dream. It was warm now, warmed by sunlight. She smiled. "May you find your place in the great dreaming," she whispered. The creek outside replied with a soft murmur. A bird called once from the willow, then another answered. The world was waking. The witch closed her eyes for a moment, not to sleep, but to feel. The sound of wings, the hush of water, the sigh of wind, it all blended into one long, slow breath. And as the first full rays of sun entered her hut, lighting her face, she whispered one last time, "Peace be with you, Hollow Creek. Peace be with all who dream." Then she fell silent, content in the warmth of dawn, the golden hour when light itself seems to remember the softness of night, and every soul, waking or sleeping, is blessed by the tender glow of being held in between. By midday, the sun had climbed high, and the forest shimmered beneath its gentle warmth. The witch's hut, tucked among the willows, looked as though it had always been there, part of the land, part of the water, part of the dream itself. Hollow Creek flowed beside it, the same song it had always sung, the same silver laughter weaving through the stones. Yet today, it seemed to glow differently, fuller, deeper, as though carrying within it all the stories it had gathered. The witch sat by the doorway, her knees drawn to her chest, her bare feet brushing the moss. She had spent the morning in quiet tending, watering her small garden, washing her bowls of moon salt, gathering herbs that smelled of honey and rain. Her long braid rested over her shoulder, streaked faintly with gold from the Sunday. The air was alive with the hum of bees, the whisper of reeds, the slow rhythm of a world that knew peace. Beside her, the bottles lay clean and empty on a cloth of soft linen. She ran her fingers along their rims, tracing their delicate edges. Some were clear as glass, some faintly tinted from the dreams they once held, soft pinks, pale violets, quiet blues. They no longer hummed with the energy of night, but they glowed faintly in the light of day, like memories that refused to fade entirely. The witch smiled to herself. "Rest now," she murmured, "until the night comes again." A breeze slipped through the clearing, carrying the scent of wet moss and sunlight on stone. The water sparkled, scattering tiny reflections across her face. She closed her eyes and listened. The creek's voice had always comforted her, but now she could hear something new within it, a rhythm beneath the rhythm, a quiet heartbeat that pulsed through every ripple. It was as though the river itself were alive, dreaming in its own way. She rose slowly and walked to the bank. The sunlight on the water dazzled her eyes for a moment, then softened as clouds drifted overhead. She crouched, letting her fingers skim the surface. The creek was cool, gentle, unhurried. Its flow wrapped around her touch and continued onward, ever patient. "You remember everything, don't you?" she whispered. "Every dream, every tear, every blessing." The water answered with a shimmer. She followed the creek's bend until she reached the old willow, its roots thick and knotted, dipping deep into the current. Beneath its shade, the air was cooler, filled with small dancing motes of light that filtered through the leaves. This was the heart of Hollow Creek, the place where she had first made her promise. The witch sank to her knees in the soft moss, laying her palms flat upon the earth. The sound of the river wrapped around her like an embrace. "It was here," she said softly, "where I began." And as she spoke, the memories returned like ripples widening through still water. She saw her younger self, smaller, uncertain, standing beneath this same willow on a night long ago. The creek had been wild then, restless and swollen with sorrow. She had knelt by the water's edge and whispered her vow to gather what was dark, to turn it into light, to keep watch so that none might drown in their own dreaming. Now, years later, she smiled at that memory, a girl's promise that had become the work of a lifetime. The river had changed since then, so had she. "You've grown calmer," she said to the water, "and I've learned how to listen." The willow swayed as though nodding. The creek murmured, its voice low and full. The sun began to lower, slipping behind the tops of the cedars. Shadows lengthened across the water. The witch stood, brushed moss from her hands, and looked downstream where the light caught the surface in bands of gold. Far beyond, she could just make out the thin line of mist that rose from the village. Her heart warmed. She thought of the sleeping children, the resting elders, the quiet hearts that had been touched by her butterflies. She thought of the silent spirit, now freed, glowing somewhere in the great dreaming beyond. Her work had rippled outward, farther than she could ever see, and yet it never truly ended. Each night would bring new dreams, new fears, new bottles adrift in the current. Each dawn would bring light again. The pattern would go on soft and eternal as the creek itself. The witch smiled at the thought. "Then I too will go on," she whispered. She returned to her hut and lit her lantern, though the sky was still half bright. Inside, the familiar scent of herbs and warm wood greeted her. The light danced across the shelves, brushing the clean bottles with gold. She began her evening preparations, refilling the basin with water, laying out the moon salt, straightening the circle of stones. Her movements were unhurried, graceful, ritual. Every gesture was a kind of prayer. When she finished, she stood for a moment, her hands resting on the table. The air inside the hut was perfectly still. Outside, the forest's song had shifted from day to dusk birds, quieting, crickets beginning, the first notes of night returning. The witch breathed in deeply. She could feel the change, the soft turning of the world between light and shadow. Then, faintly, she heard it, the clink of glass against stone. She stepped outside, Downstream, something small and glimmering floated toward her, a bottle, the first of the new night. Its glow was pale blue, delicate as the edge of a feather. The witch waded into the creek until the water brushed her calves. She bent and lifted the bottle into her hands. Inside, a faint swirl moved, not dark, not heavy, only lost. She smiled. "Welcome," she whispered. "You've come home." She carried it back to the hut and set it upon her table. The bottle's faint light reflected in her eyes. "And so it begins again," she said softly. Outside, twilight deepened. Fireflies began to appear, blinking among the ferns like tiny lanterns. The moon rose slowly over the trees, its reflection trembling upon the water. The witch stepped outside once more. The night air wrapped around her shoulders like a shawl. She gazed at the creek, her companion, her teacher, her reflection. The water moved endlessly, its voice neither loud nor silent, neither hurried nor still. She smiled, and her words were barely more than breath. "Flow on, my friend, flow on forever. Carry peace to every corner of the world. Carry every dream home." The creek shimmered beneath the moon, as if answering. She stood there for a long time, the glow of her lantern behind her, the song of the river before her. Stars gathered above, mirrored by stars below. The forest seemed to hold its breath, cradling both witch and water in its great, timeless heart. And when at last she turned back to her hut, the creek kept flowing quiet, endless, eternal. Its voice mingled with the whisper of leaves and the sigh of wind, until no one could tell where one began and the other ended. The witch lay down upon her bed of moss and linen. Her eyes drifted shut. The night hummed softly around her. And as she slipped into her own dream, the creek kept its promise. It carried her peace onward through forest and field, through village and valley, through all the places where hearts still searched for rest, until the world itself seemed to breathe in rhythm with her sleep. For Hollow Creek never stopped dreaming, and neither did she. Forever the water flowed. Forever the dream continued. Forever peace found its way home.